Good morning and welcome to our webinar this morning. I'm just waiting for a couple more people to join and we will kick off there. So this morning we are going to talk about the TAS migration to Sage 50. So hopefully you can all see my screen there, my PowerPoint, which I'm going to just give a brief overview at the beginning, and then we're going to jump into the demonstration. So just a couple of items we're going to cover, just some areas of banking and some areas of payments, either customer or supplier, and a few samples of data importing, looking at our schedule backup and some reporting aspects. So hopefully that will give you a good idea of some of the advantages of moving into Sage 50. So if we have a look there, I just wanted to do an introduction there. We are the largest Sage 50 BP in Ireland and actually the UK now. So we pride ourselves on focusing on this product area. I'm not going to read out the services there. You'll have these when we share the slides later that we can follow up and you can see some of the areas that we specialise in. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into my Sage 50 and hopefully you can all see my Sage 50 screen. And I'm just going to start off with the banking aspect of it. So one area here that people don't utilise enough is the bank reconciliation, and it's certainly a lot simpler in Sage 50 here. So we're prompted to put any headings that we wish to on the bank reconciliation, but we can skip through that if we wish and just jump straight into the bank reconciliation. So in here, we have a number of transactions that are put into Sage 50, and we can just click on one or many of them and match them through based on our statement that we received through. So if we have a look, though, we've got other transactions up here that may not be in Sage already that we can put in a transaction. So if we put in a transaction directly while we're in the bank reconciliation, we can post through, so whichever we can give it into just put a figure in there if there's any VAT. And once we click on save and close that out, you will see here it jumps straight down into the reconciliation piece. So that applies to bank receipts, customer receipts, supplier payments, transfers, etc. Now you can see that we have an imbalance here at the bottom. So what we must do is we must ensure that this statement balance balances to what our matched balance is. So we must write that. So we can either do that at the very beginning and ensure that it balances. Now, if we see here, it's changed now, the difference has changed to 0 and not any other figure. Now, if I do get disturbed, I can save progress. I can go back into my reconciliation and use the saved position that I have without having to start from scratch. If I'm happy with this, I can click on the reconcile and that will complete the bank reconciliation. Now, I do it myself, and I think we have, if I have about 20 to 30 items per day on a bank reconciliation, you can have it done in about 15 minutes max. Very quick, very easy, and certainly a reason why you should be using the Sage 51. Plus, the most important thing is it ensures that all monies in and out of the bank are recorded on Sage 50. So if we pop in now into our supplier payments, so we'll have a look here. I'm just going to pick the supplier payment. Now behind the scenes, the supplier is set up with all their banking information. So their bank codes are set up there and we're flagged to do the banking. So I'm just going to pick any, excuse me, supplier there. you can see that it's populated the backs in the reference. I must not override that because that's what's going to drive the e-banking later on. So if I pop a figure in here, excuse me, I'm going to do a part payment of 400. Click save. It's just confirming it's part payment. I'm going to leave there. Now that's allocated against the supplier's account. All the Sage piece there is done. But if I pop into e-payments now, what that will do is that will bring me up a list of all of the e-payments. So I can do one or many for my bank file. And I can see the 400 here based on today's date. So I can highlight a number of them, or I can just do one. So once I click on send, that will do is that will bring up my payment confirmation. It'll bring up the total for the file and I click OK. Now I can't go any further because I need an OIN number, which I don't on the demo company, but I put in the date of the banking, just make sure it's before the cutoff times. Put in your reference and it will create a file in this directory. Now that directory can be decided by yourselves if you want it into a more secure or centralized area. And once I click on OK, that creates the bank file and I upload it into the bank. Really simple. And again, once I have the once I have the bank file done, I click straight into my remittance advice. And you'll see I'll have a list of all of these suppliers that are waiting to have a remittance. Again, once I can highlight one or many, and I can click the print, and I can go straight to emailing these out to my suppliers and the format that I have there. So once I click on run to email, in this case, I've got just a preview for the purpose of the demonstration. So you can see there, and we can put a logo up on the format if we wish to. Again, another very simple function using the integration between the banking and that. Now we have one area I'm just going to cover briefly is around the Go Cardless, which is direct debits. So not only payments to suppliers, but how can we make it easier to collect money from our customers? So what we have in here is in our customer, we will have an area here that we have a direct debit. So if I just, that one's already set up, and if I just click into one here, and I will put my own email address in. And I'm going to set up a mandate. So it's telling me just to save the account there. And what that's going to do is prompt me to send a direct debit mandate request to my email address. Okay, so if I just pop into my email. So if I drag that over here, so you will see the customer is going to receive an email and they're going to have a click through here. What they must do is they must fill out their details. Obviously, these are sensitive details, so I'm not going to fill out anything here. But once they have filled out their details, they will get a confirmation before they press yes, and they will be able to set up that direct debit. So how simple is that to do that remotely? So literally set up your customers, forward on the mandate, they say yes, and then you have a portal here on your Go Cardless where you can keep an eye on all of your payments, all of your customers, subscription templates, etc. So really simple for you to set up. So in our, if I just take that away there. So, and I'll just pull that away there. So under our Sage 50, we have a setup. So the setup, very simple for the customer. They just get a link and all you need to do is set up your parameters and link your banking details to that. Once that's all done, you've got your Go Cardless, you can start collecting direct debits from your customer as regularly as you wish to. So another area there that we found, regardless of maybe whether it's you're using a third party or whether you are setting up from scratch, we're doing a transition or migration, you can import in master data. So I give this an example of, let's say, a supplier record. So we have a sample here that we're going to click in a supplier. So it's as simple as this. So this one here, this master data is going to be done through, I'm going to click it in through our Sage import. Now, we would encourage people to back up their system before they import anything. So I'm going to go into my sample supplier and pick up my supplier record and click on next. Now this will do a mapping. So this is to map the columns that are in your Excel to the fields that they need to populate in Sage. So once we've done that mapping, and that will hold, so we close out there. And if I go to my supplier list, and I will have all my suppliers that are listed in there. So I just want to find my, sorry, my import there didn't complete that. So let me just drop that in there again. So, oops, my supplier record should go in there. And then my account reference. So once I import there, I just need to make sure that that record there, sorry, I jumped past it, and needs to be clicked through. So if we have our, if we just refresh there, so you can see my Facebook has imported directly in with my various parameters on that. So it's just a refresh that was needed on that. Now, that's importing master records, so I can do that for customers, I can do that for nominals, I can do that for various ones. But we also deal with third-party imports. So under my customers and my invoices, I have an invoice import. So I have a sample file again that I was using in the directory there that you saw in my sample invoice. And I've got various customer invoices in there with invoice numbers. So once I just load that up there, and I'm sure I want to import them into Sage, I do. So it's given me some invoice numbers in there and it looks all okay. So if I just move that off here, I'm just going to have a look to my, refresh my data there. And you can see I have some new invoices there, and you can tell by the invoice numbers here. These are for the Temple Street, these for CU Edge, the BAL. So that's all of those that I've just imported, and they were based on dates that I had in the file of the import. So if I just show you the file of the import there, we go back. Sample invoice, I'm going to have a look at this invoice, this import here. So you can see there were my customers, and here were the dates that I had used in my file opposed to the today's date. So you can just see them there. So that's how we can import third party. We can use Sage import. So I think very powerful if you have anything external that you need to get on. Now, whether we, again, need to use these on a daily basis, a weekly basis, we can schedule all of those for you. So just another area here that I think would be useful, and it's backups. Backups are absolutely critical. And unfortunately, you don't know you need a backup until something happens. So if people aren't where we can back up these ad hocly, so we can click in and we can just take a backup. So like it was prompting us when we were doing our transactional import, we can do an ad hoc one like that. But more importantly, really, we should be looking at this schedule backup. So in here, it's telling me I have a demo company. and the schedule backup was done there just at 10 o'clock. I'm going to have a look at my settings. So I can set my settings here to check my data, which is absolutely critical. I can run it regularly, or I can run it once per day. So that's mine. And depending on where I want to back it up to, if I want to exercise my OneDrive, put it locally. So all these settings you must review. If there's anybody logged in at the time, and the check data. So you see here is my demo data. It was just done there at 9 o'clock. There's an exclamation mark there for me. So just to make sure everything was done okay. And there was 3 comments on my data. It will also give me the directory of where the backup has been stored. So very useful information. And remember, the most important part about it is it's been done regardless of whether you remember to or not. So highly recommend that would be early. Now, one of the other areas that we had heard about gaps in TAS maybe and Sage 50. We know that there's hundreds of reports in Sage 50. We can see here, just going along, how many are just under each section, never mind anything anywhere else. We also know that the reports that are provided with Sage 50 have their own report designer. So again, the power of being able to amend the reports here, we can do them for you, we can give you some training on them, but it's very important that you have full control on the reporting. So, but a couple of examples I'm just going to show is one of the daybook reconciliations, which I know that was a gap. And I'm just going to preview that here. Just change that date there to include everything. So this is looking at our debtors reconciliation. So this is coming from our customer. So you can see here we've got a total there. So I'm just going to pop into the nominal just to show the reconciliation. So our debtors control is here. And you can see that balances to our report. So we can see here a quick reconciliation there, and we've also got our aged debtors report as well that we can reconcile against to see that the aging is suiting us as well. We've got the same thing on the creditor side, so I'll just pop that off there. If I pop in, and we've got our preview, just change the date. Click OK, and if I just pop down to the end of that report, get the total. So we've got a total there of the 385, and if I pop into my nominal, oh, there's our creditors control, and that balances. So 3-way age creditors or age debtors against our reconciliation report from our customers versus our nominal. So little handy report there for you. Now you can also look at batch reporting. So maybe at the end of the month, you could include these reconciliation reports. But what we've got here is where we can run our batch reporting. And like it says, batch reporting meaning more than one report at the one time. So I have a profit and loss and a balance sheet run from one set of criteria. So I can ensure that they are balancing under the same date range. Now, how did I do that? So if I close off this and I just go to edit, you can see here I've got the 2 reports that I've selected. Now I can either go to my report list and find additional reports, or I can go to my favorites and see if anything's in my favorites. So I'm actually just going to add the trial balance to this now. So if I just click on save and I rerun that again, so my criteria pops up. Now you can see I have profit and loss, I have my balance sheet, and I have my trial balance. So you can pick a number of reports to group together, and you can have a number of them. You don't need to have just these. So you'll see here that I have a selection of different ones that are grouped together. So it just can make the month end much handier for you. So that is one area of the reporting. Now what I'd like to introduce is moving out of the Sage 50. And what we have here is our own reporting tool called AccountsMate. So one of the other gaps there that we were talking about is running reports after year end. And you may have heard that Sage 50 is limited on that. Well, that's not the case anymore. So the AccountsMate allows us to run reports without having to run year end. So I've got a sample here, and I've got a number of reports that I'm able to run under this AccountsMate, under customers, sales orders, invoices. I've got suppliers, I've got nominal transactions. I'm just concentrating on two for today, and that is the nominal analysis. So I'm looking at my P&L, and you can see here that I got sales and purchases, and this is driven from my chart of accounts in my Sage 50. So again, I can have one or many chart of accounts. And what that's going to do there is you can see that I've got sales, and under sales, I've got residential, commercial. Under purchases, I've got various purchases, overheads, etc. So I'm using that, but I'm not restricted to that. So if I drill in, you can see now my residential and my commercial, and then all of the descriptions underneath here. Now I can expand out that. I'll just make that screen a little bit bigger. And you can see I've run this from January to December. Now, if I made a posting this minute into Sage 50 and clicked the refresh, the data would update immediately. So it's very powerful. I could extend the date here, and I could refresh again. And while that's refreshing, it's looking at Sage 50, and you can see I've got 2022 versus 2023. If I shrink down the 2 years, you can see there I can do comparisons now. I could also run a comparison and only include January of 2022 if I wanted to. And if I stretch those out, you'll see that they're just January figures. So I can do a comparison very quickly year on year. So these little filters, a bit like Excel, I can include them all. I could look to have my quarter. I could pull my quarter down here, so I could do my quarterly accounts. I can see them just by quarters. Again, my data is pretty limited here. And I can go back. So my drag and drop, and I can save off as many of those versions of that report as I need to, and I can flick in and out of them. So I don't have to keep doing the dragging and dropping at this stage. Now, one other powerful thing that's been requested of us recently is around the department. So if I wanted to do sales and I wanted to look at my department, I could see my sales over the head office, location 2, operations, etc. I can shrink those down if I wish to, and I can start seeing them grouped. But the power of this also is if I wanted to, I could literally drag department, and I could change the department and look at things like head office, and then I've got a mini P&L. And like I had on filters, I've got filters here. I might want to only see head office, and I could see a little mini P&L at this stage. Really powerful reporting. If we look at the sales side, sales is very similar. So what I've got here is just as a sample one, I've got customer by product. Now my customer analysis is my sales rep. So if I dragged this one down, I could be able to see my reps. And if I expand out there, so I can see my rep sales by customer, by product. I could always reverse that, and I could see my customer if I have multiple reps going into any one customer, and I can expand out to see what's happening in there. In this case, I have a one-to-one relationship on my customer and my reps, but a simple drag and drop. If I wanted to look at maybe a product category rather than just a product description. So these are fields that we haven't taken out yet. So if I drag my category in here, now I can see my customer by category by product. And likewise, let's take the product off for the moment. I could reverse this and I could see product category by customer. So again, very powerful reporting. And if I wanted to, I could drag my rep down. I could start to see rep by product category. So into the customer name. And I have another analysis here, which is the type of business. So I can see now, again, I can see my types of business versus my rep into my customer. So on and so forth, as you can see there, that it's very powerful tool there that can help your additional reporting needs that I think absolutely fulfills the gap on the TAS. So one area that's very difficult to show is bank feeds, and I know it's something that people have shown an interest in. So when you go into your bank, as we were in earlier on, you get to click on bank feeds and it asks you which bank do you want to connect to. So once you connect to your bank, you'll be prompted for your IDs. So as you would do your normal logging on to your bank. And once you've set up that aspect of it, you will start to be able to match off. So you're going to see transactions from your bank and transactions from your Sage. And because I'm in a demo company, I don't have those connected up just at the moment. You'll be able to set up certain rules to try and put a bit of AI into this so that it makes it easier going forward. So that gives you an idea, but you can contact us directly, or it's something that if you have moved your TAS over, we can look at setting that up for you. So that's it for this morning. I thank you very much for your attention, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to take those, and if you want to use the chat button, I'll answer those there. Other than that, please feel free to contact us on those details and we can follow up with you later, as there's plenty more features in Sage 50 that I haven't even got around to touching. So one of the questions there, we talked about data import. Yes, so if you're migrating your TAS data over to Sage 50, we can take the master data. We can allow you to cleanse that data before we pull it in. And it just means that we can make sure it's a nice tidy version before you start, particularly when you're not using any customers. We can take the outstanding transactions, not just the opening balances. So basically what's on a detailed age debtors or age creditors, your trial balance, etc. We can take those across for you and we can import those in and we'll go through a full reconciliation for you. The number of banks, yeah, it's your basic ones there from your AIB to your Bank of Ireland. Obviously, we don't have Ulster Bank anymore. So those Irish Permanent or Permanent TSB now, is it known as? So all the standard banks are all covered. Do we need to have separate software to integrate with Sage when running DDs? So it's the Go Cardless that I showed. So once the Go Cardless will come with your Sage 50. So once you connect up your bank and you set up an account with Go Cardless, now there will be some charges on the number of transactions. So it'll depend, and we can get an assessment on that for you depending on the number of direct debits that you are using. But it's certainly to get your cash flow up and running, it's highly recommended. Yet on the supplier payments, yeah, we can get that set up either when you migrate or if you've already moved over to any of the Sage 50 at the moment, we can have all of those set up. We can do a format for your remittance. All the formats are done through the report designer that I showed earlier. So we can have all of those customized for you. I'm conscious of time and that people have given up time. And please don't hesitate to send up any further follow-up queries. But I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much.